All right, so today we're gonna dive into bug out bags.
Oh, yeah.
You know that kit you grab when stuff hits the fan and you got to get out or dodge.
Yeah.
We're going to unpack what you absolutely got to have and help you guys build one that's perfect for you. And to help us out, we've got some awesome sources, articles, and comments from the pros over at Bug Out Bag Academy.
Good.
Mountain House Bug Out Bag Builder True Prepper.
Nice.
Even a pretty lively Reddit thread on what everyone thinks is essential.
That's cool. I love those Reddit threads. There's always such a range of opinions. It's fascinating.
Right. It's like you get the hardcore survivalists, and then you get the people who are just like, I just want to be prepared for like a power outage.
Yeah, exactly. Or a hurricane, something a little more common.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's interesting how much thought goes into these bags.
Huh.
It's not just throwing some random stuff in a backpack.
Right.
It's really a strategic way to think about being self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Especially in those first few days of an emergency.
Yeah. And that's actually something that comes up a lot in these sources.
Okay.
It's called the 72-hour rule.
The 72-hour rule. I've
Yeah.
heard of that.
It's this idea that, if there's a major emergency, government help might be delayed.
Makes sense.
So you got to be able to take care of yourself for at least 3 days.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
Because who knows what could happen, right? Like roads could be blocked or communication could be down.
Exactly. Even if you end up in a shelter, having your own supplies just gives you a sense of
Control. Yeah.
Yeah, and comfort, in that kind of chaos.
Absolutely. Like a little piece of home with you.
Yeah, like your portable safety net.
Like that.
So let's actually start with the foundation of the bug out bag.
Okay.
The bag itself.
Okay.
Bug Out Bag Academy says a durable, comfortable backpack is key.
Yeah. No flimsy book bags for this adventure.
No, definitely not. You're going to be carrying this thing potentially for miles.
Right.
So it needs to be up for the challenge.
Totally.
Yeah.
And think about those little details too. Like hydration, pack, compatibility.
It's like waist strap to distribute the weight.
Yeah.
Padded shoulder strap so you're not, getting all sore.
Because that would be miserable.
Oh, yeah. And when it comes to color, earth tones are generally recommended.
To blend in.
Exactly.
But there is some debate about camouflage.
Yeah.
Like some people, especially if you're in an urban environment,
Uh-huh.
say it might actually make you a target.
Yeah, I can see that. Like you don't want to stand out too much in a city.
Right. Like if everybody else is just wearing regular clothes and you've got this full camo gear on.
You're going to stick out like a sore thumb.
Exactly.
It's about understanding your environment and what makes sense for your situation.
Yeah. So before we get lost in the gear rabbit hole here,
Okay.
let's talk about prioritizing.
Prioritizing, yes.
Bug Out Bag Builder talks about the WESH bag.
The what bag?
The WUSH bag,
Okay.
which stands for Wake Up Stuff's Happening.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So it's essentially a smaller kit.
That you keep by your bed
Got it.
for those grab and go moments.
Oh, like if you got to get out quickly?
Yes, when seconds count, and then you integrate those essentials into your bigger bug out bag later.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like a mini survival kit within a bigger survival kit.
Exactly.
Okay.
And speaking of essentials,
Okay.
let's talk about the number one priority,
What's that?
water.
No, of course, water.
Shit.
You can't survive without water.
Exactly.
Oh.
Bug Out Bag Academy really emphasizes this. You need at least 3 liters.
3 liters. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good amount.
And it's not just about the quantity either.
Right.
You need multiple sources.
Okay.
Think water bottles, canteens,
Got it.
and ways to purify your water if your primary source gets contaminated.
Yeah, that's smart.
Those Sawyer filters we talked about before,
Yeah.
they're perfect for a bug out bag.
Yeah.
They filter out like 99.9% of bacteria and microbes.
Right.
They're lightweight,
That's good.
easy to use,
And reliable.
but having backup options like purification tablets is also a good idea.
Right, because what if you lose your filter or it breaks?
Exactly. You got to have a plan B.
Redundancy is key.
Okay, so after water, shelter, and warmth are high on the list.
Makes sense. You got to stay warm and dry.
Right. Bug Out Bag Academy points out that while you can improvise shelter,
Mm-hmm.
having a dedicated sleeping bag or a bivvy can do wonders for your morale.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Just having that little bit of comfort can make a big difference.
They actually have this great quote.
Okay.
They say, being well rested, both mentally and physically, is extremely important for morale when times are rough.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It's easy to overlook the psychological aspects of survival.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're cold, wet, and exhausted, it's hard to think clearly
Right.
and make good decisions.
Totally. So having gear that helps you stay warm and comfortable,
Yeah.
that can be a game changer.
All right, so let's move on to tools.
Tools, man.
Bug Out Bag Academy has this great mantra: every ounce counts. Determine the must-haves and forget the rest.
I love that. It's so easy to get carried away with all the gadgets and gizmos.
Right.
But you really got to focus on the essentials.
Exactly. So they recommend a good survival knife,
Okay.
a multi-tool,
All right.
and an axe.
An axe.
Yeah, they actually argue that an axe is safer than a machete,
Oh, interesting.
and you can use the blunt end as a hammer.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah,
So it's multi-purpose.
exactly. It's all about those multi-purpose tools.
I like it.
Okay, so let's shed some light on light sources.
Okay, literally.
Haha, yeah, literally, being able to see in the dark is crucial.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Especially if you're navigating unfamiliar terrain or, dealing with an injury.
exactly.
You don't want to be fumbling around in the dark.
Right. Bug Out Bag Academy suggests having multiple options.
Okay.
A headlamp for hands-free use.
Okay.
Keychain lights for convenience.
Yeah.
Even glow sticks for emergencies.
Oh, yeah. Those are good for signaling, too.
And of course, don't forget extra batteries.
Batteries are essential.
Yes. And you might also consider a solar lantern
Oh, yeah.
or a crank-powered charger.
Right. So you're not relying solely on batteries.
Exactly. It's all about being prepared for different situations.
I like it.
Now, this next topic is one that sometimes gets overlooked,
Okay.
but it's incredibly important.
What's that?
Communication.
Oh, yeah. Communication. You got to be able to stay in touch.
Right. Bug Out Bag Academy uses this acronym that I really like,
Okay.
PACE,
PACE.
which stands for Primary Alternate Contingency Emergency.
Okay. I like that. It's like a framework for your communication strategy.
Exactly. So your primary communication might be your cell phone,
Right.
but what if the powers are down?
Good point.
That's where your alternate comes in.
Okay.
Like a Wi-Fi enabled tablet
Mm.
with offline maps and documents.
That's smart.
And for contingency, you could have a ham radio.
Okay. A ham radio. That's a good one. But you need a license for that, right?
Yeah, you do need a license for that. And then for emergency, a crank power charger with signal lights could be a lifesaver.
Right. Because that way you can signal for help if you need it.
Exactly. It's all about having those layers of redundancy.
Makes sense.
Now let's talk about another crucial element of your bug out bag.
All right. What's that?
First aid.
Oh, first aid, of course. You got to be prepared for injuries.
This isn't just about throwing some Band-Aids in a Ziploc bag.
Right. You need a real kit.
Yeah, you need a comprehensive kit and the knowledge to use it.
Absolutely.
Here's what you're doing. Bug Out Bag Academy goes beyond the basics here, recommending things like a CT tourniquet.
A CT tourniquet. Okay.
Yeah, for controlling bleeding,
Right.
quick clot for serious wounds,
Oh, wow.
Israeli bandages.
Okay. Those are good.
They even suggest more advanced items like a decompression needle.
The decompression needle.
Yeah, a suture kit and even scalpel blades.
Wow. That's pretty intense.
Yeah, but this is all depending on your skills and your risk tolerance.
Right. You don't want to be performing surgery on yourself if you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly. Before you go full-on surgeon, remember, you need to know how to use these things.
Totally. Take a wilderness first aid course or something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great investment.
Could literally save your life.
Okay, now get ready for a curveball.
Okay. A curveball.
You know what shows up on a lot of these bug out bag lists?
What?
Condoms.
Condoms.
Yeah, I know it sounds strange, but
I mean, they are waterproof
right.
and durable.
They can be used for water storage.
Okay.
Making a waterproof container.
All right.
Even as a makeshift slingshot.
Oh, wow. I never thought of that.
It's all about thinking outside the box.
Right. Using your imagination.
Speaking of unexpected items, tampons also generated a lot of discussion in the comments.
Tampons.
Yeah.
What for?
Some people swear by them for stopping bleeding.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
But there's some debate about this.
Uh,
A commenter claiming to be a medic actually advised against it.
Really?
Yeah, saying they're not sterile and could increase the risk of infection.
oh, that's a good point.
Mhm.
It's always best to follow the advice of medical professionals.
Right, especially in a survival situation.
Exactly.
Now let's shift gears for a bit and talk about a topic that's often overlooked.
Okay.
The people factor.
The people factor.
Yeah, a commenter on Bug Out Bag Academy made this really powerful statement. They
Mhm.
said, people are your biggest threat and greatest assets.
Wow. That's thought-provoking.
It's a reminder that in a survival situation, understanding human behavior
Mm-hmm.
is just as important as having the right gear.
Yeah, because people can be unpredictable in a crisis.
Exactly. You know, this commenter shared an amazing story about practicing navigation
Okay.
by driving into the woods, walking for a day, and then using a map and compass to find their way back.
Wow, that's hardcore.
It's that kind of experience that really tests your skills and builds confidence.
Yeah, I bet.
Mm.
And speaking of confidence, another commenter A former Special Forces operator emphasized the importance of fitting the contents of your bag to the mission.
Okay.
They said a BOB can be what you can fit in your car. They actually have a Fiat 500 packed with supplies.
I love that. It's all about being adaptable and thinking creatively.
Right.
So we're just scratching the surface here.
Yeah, we are.
But I think we've covered some solid foundational knowledge for building a bug-out bag.
Absolutely. We've laid the groundwork.
Yeah.
Now it's time to delve into some more nuanced details and real-world advice from those who've been there, done that.
Yeah, and we're going to do that in the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait.
So, as we go through all this advice, one thing that really jumps out is that it's more about skills than stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a common thread I'm seeing in all these sources, too.
Yeah.
Having the right gear is important, but it's useless if you don't know how to use it.
Right. Like, we came across this quote from a commenter with military experience.
Right.
They said, "We didn't go with tons of gear. We learned to live with what we could find. Learned real quick. Too much weight was a killer."
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
It really highlights that in a real survival situation, you might have to improvise and adapt.
Right.
Knowing how to build a fire, find water,
even
make a basic shelter could be more valuable than any gadget.
Yeah, and there's this misconception that a bug-out bag needs to be this massive, heavy thing packed to the brim.
Like you're going on a month-long expedition.
Yeah, but some of these folks are advocating for a more minimalist approach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like one former Special Forces operator suggested a simple D-pack with just the essentials.
What kind of essentials?
Socks, water, and MRE ammo, a knife, compass, map, and communication.
Wow, that's pretty bare bones.
It is, but it's all about prioritizing.
Right.
Based on your needs and the specific scenario you're preparing for.
I see. So you don't want to be weighed down by unnecessary items.
Exactly, especially if you need to move quickly or cover long distances.
Yeah, that makes sense. That same commenter also made a great point about the physical demands of bugging out.
Oh, wow.
They said, "Sorry, guys, got to trim a lot of items weight off this list, or you won't make it a mile into your bug out before you pass out from exhaustion or start throwing items out from excessive weight."
Right. It's a reality check. You got to be physically fit enough to carry your bag.
Absolutely.
Potentially for an extended period.
Yeah, you don't want your bug out bag to become a burden.
No, definitely not. Practicing with your loaded bag is a good way to assess your fitness level.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And make adjustments accordingly.
I like that. And another thing they emphasized was combining usage, no redundancies, knowledge over too much crap, primary concerns of water, food protection, and shelter, with all others coming after.
So smart. Analyze each item in your bag and ask yourself, can this serve multiple purposes?
Right.
Do I really need 2 of these?
Every ounce counts.
Exactly. Now let's talk about a topic that often sparks debate.
Okay, what's that?
Firearms.
Oh, firearms.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion in these comments about the role of weapons in a bug-out scenario.
That's interesting, because it is a complex issue.
Right.
With legal and ethical implications.
Absolutely. Some people advocate for carrying a firearm for self-defense.
Okay.
While others believe it should only be a last resort.
Right. You have to weigh the risks and benefits.
Exactly. And one commenter with a military background had a thought-provoking perspective.
I'd like to hear that.
They said, "An openly carried weapon is a signal of your ability to use deadly force. To most, it is also a signal of your intent to use said force, whether you actually have that intention or not. This leads to faster escalation of violence, where some may decide it's best to open with violent behavior, not giving you time to react."
Wow, that's a really important point to consider. In a stressful situation, misunderstandings can happen.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And having a weapon doesn't automatically make you safer.
Right, could actually put you in more danger.
Exactly, if it provokes aggression.
Another commenter, also with military experience, said, "Like the man talking about ammo when the SHTF, there will be ammo on the ground, along with weapons. So pack your bags, prepare, but learn to survive without all these items that will run out if extended time in the bush is required."
That's a good point. It goes back to what we were saying earlier about skills and adaptability.
Yeah.
Being able to scavenge, improvise, survive without relying solely on your pre-packed gear.
Okay, let's lighten the mood a bit.
Okay.
Remember those condoms we talked about?
Oh, yeah, with the condoms.
Well, they generated quite a buzz in the comments.
Really? I'm not surprised.
I think people either love them or are completely baffled.
Yeah.
One commenter even shared a link to an article titled 10 Ways a Condom Can Save Your Life.
Wow. Who knew they were so versatile?
Right. It's all about creativity and resourcefulness.
Exactly. Finding those unexpected uses for everyday items.
Now, another item that sparked some debate,
Okay.
tampons.
Tampons again.
Yeah. Some people suggested using them for first aid.
Oh, right, for stopping bleeding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But a commenter claiming to be a medic
Okay.
cautioned against this,
Really?
saying they're not sterile
Oh, that's a good point.
and could actually increase the risk of infection.
Right. You don't want to introduce more bacteria into a wound.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder to rely on trusted medical advice.
Absolutely. Especially in a survival situation.
And speaking of medical preparedness, one commenter had a fantastic suggestion for those who wear glasses.
Oh, okay. What's that?
Keep a pair of prescription sport goggles in your bug-out bag.
Oh, that's a smart idea.
Yeah,
They're more durable than regular glasses,
right.
and they provide better eye protection.
Exactly. It's all about anticipating those potential problems
Yeah.
and finding practical solutions.
I love it. One thing that really impressed me
Okay.
was the emphasis on mental and emotional preparedness.
Yeah, that's so important.
It's not just about the physical gear.
Right.
It's about having the right mindset to face challenging situations.
One commenter of a preschool teacher
Oh, wow.
shared a powerful story about how they prepared their students for potential emergencies.
Oh, I'd like to hear this.
They exposed them to diverse cultures and challenging environments in their city.
That's interesting.
They said, I exposed the children of wealthy doctors, lawyers, and tech millionaires to Islamic culture gang-heavy neighborhoods and feed the destitute homeless. And I'd trust these kids to barter the last of my water to find an escape route out of the city.
Wow, that's an incredible approach to building resilience
Yeah.
and empathy at a young age.
Right. It highlights the importance of understanding different perspectives
Yeah,
and being able to navigate those complex social situations.
totally. And they made a powerful point. People are your greatest asset and biggest threat. You know, in a crisis,
Right.
human behavior can be unpredictable.
Absolutely.
Knowing how to read people, assess threats, and build alliances,
Yeah.
that can be crucial for survival.
It's about being aware of your surroundings, trusting your instincts,
Yeah.
and being prepared to adapt.
Exactly. And, you know, this also emphasizes the importance of community.
Oh, yeah.
Having a network of people you can rely on who share your values and skills.
Right. It's interesting how these sources are kind of shifting the focus from that solitary lone wolf survivalist mentality
Yeah.
to a more community-oriented approach.
Right, because in a real crisis, collaboration and cooperation
Yeah.
are often the keys to survival.
We need each other.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
let's circle back to something we touched on earlier.
Right.
The importance of practice.
Practice. Practice.
Right. It's not enough to just have a bug-out bag sitting in a closet.
Yeah.
You need to actually use the gear test, your skills.
Right.
Familiarize yourself with the contents of your bag.
I remember that commenter who talked about driving into the woods walking for a day
Yeah.
and using a map and compass to find their way back.
That's a great example
Yeah.
of real-world experience
Yeah.
that builds confidence and exposes any weaknesses in your plan.
Don't just read about survival skills, actually
Yeah.
practice them.
Build a fire, purify water, set up your shelter.
Yeah, get your hands dirty.
The more comfortable you are with these skills,
Yeah.
the better prepared you'll be in a real emergency.
And remember, the goal isn't to become paranoid or obsessed with worst-case scenarios.
Right.
It's about empowering yourself with knowledge skills
Yeah.
and a sense of preparedness so you can face whatever challenges come your way with confidence and resilience.
You know, it's amazing how these sources, especially the commenters who've lived through real-life emergencies, they challenge that prepper stereotype.
Oh, totally. Like, it's not just about hunkering down in a bunker, with the stockpile of weapons and MREs.
Yeah, it's a much more like nuanced and pragmatic approach.
Yeah, that's not
Like one commenter described themselves as a bug-out ready granny,
Oh, I love that.
and they had this very practical advice about keeping prescription sport goggles in your bug-out bag if you wear glasses.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
Just shows that preparedness is for everyone.
Exactly. It's not about being some, hardcore survivalist.
Mhm.
It's just about being resourceful and adaptable.
Yeah, this whole deep dive has really changed how I think about being prepared.
Yeah, me too.
It's not about living in fear.
Right.
It's about taking responsibility for your own safety and well-being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about empowering yourself with, knowledge, skills, and that confidence to face challenges.
Yeah, and there's this recurring theme of community
Oh,
that I found really encouraging.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's like we keep coming back to that.
Yeah, it's not about being a lone wolf.
Right.
It's about having a network of people you can rely on.
One commenter Talked about the importance of knowing your neighbors,
Oh, yeah.
being involved in your community, building relationships based on trust and mutual support.
It's so important.
They said know people. That means be around people. They're your biggest threat and greatest assets.
Yeah. Those social skills are huge.
Absolutely.
Being able to read people, de-escalate conflicts, and work together,
Yeah.
those are as crucial as any survival tool.
This brings up a point we haven't really talked about directly yet.
Okay.
The whole gray man concept.
Oh, the gray man.
Yeah, it's the idea of blending in, not drawing attention to yourself.
Right, kind of like being invisible.
Exactly, especially in a city.
Yeah, a lot of commenters mention this in the context of avoiding looters or desperate people during a crisis.
Makes sense.
So they recommended, dressing in neutral colors,
Right.
avoiding flashy gear, just generally keeping a low profile.
It's a reminder that sometimes the best survival strategy
Yeah.
is to avoid conflict altogether.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to come back to the most crucial takeaway.
Okay.
Practice.
Okay, this.
It's not enough to just have a bug-out bag sitting in your closet.
Right, you got to use it.
You got to use the gear test. Your skills, familiarize yourself with everything in there.
I remember that commenter who talked about driving into the woods
Oh, yeah. Walking for a day.
and then using a map and compass to find his way back
Right? It's that real-world experience that builds confidence.
and shows you what works and what doesn't.
Don't just read about survival skills, actually practice them.
Yeah, build a fire, purify water, set up your shelter.
Get those skills down.
Muscle memory is key.
The more comfortable you are with this stuff, the better prepared you'll be if something actually happens.
And remember, the goal isn't to be scared or obsessed with doomsday scenarios.
Yeah.
It's about being proactive about your safety so you can face any challenge with confidence.
So as we sign off,
Okay.
we want to leave you with a question.
Yeah, I like questions.
If you could add one item to your bug-out bag that wasn't mentioned in any of these sources, what would it be and why?
What a great question. Think outside the box. What would bring you comfort? Help you solve a problem? Boost your morale in a tough situation?
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
And thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of bug-out bags.
Until next time, stay curious, stay prepared.
And remember, knowledge is power.